Jersey City, New Jersey. Residents of the Marion Gardens housing projects live under the shadow of a violent street crew named 300, a notorious street gang affiliated with notable member, gangster rapper Al. In their third RICO indictment in 4 years, law enforcement has set their sights on dismantling this criminal enterprise. 300's reign of terror included drugs, shootouts with rival gang members, and multiple murders. In this video, we'll discuss the details of the superseding indictment. But before we get into all that, hit that subscribe button and comment down below. It's the Crime Street Journal. Jersey City sits along the Hudson River, right across from New York City. Inside this city sits the Marion Gardens housing projects, where this criminal enterprise has thrived for more than a decade, fueling the neighborhood with narcotics, violence, and fear. The projects is home to larger blood sets like Sex Money Murder, Fruit Town, and the Brick City Brims, but their loyalty is with their neighborhood, and they are collectively known as 300. The group is named after slain member Rondell Rush, street name Mr. 300. In April 2016, a 17-year-old Rondell Rush was shot in the head, murdered by a rival crew named Newski Gang. Since then, 300 and Newski Gang have been at war in the streets. According to a 34-page superseding indictment unsealed in October 2024, its alleged three leaders, Myron Williams aka Money, Roger Pickett aka Zy, and Khalil Kelly aka Bill Ski, face sweeping federal racketeering charges of RICO conspiracy, robbery, firearms charges, narcotics trafficking, and multiple murders. March 29, 2021, Jersey City, New Jersey. 300 gang members came up with a plan to set up a rival Newski gang member. According to investigators, it began with a small street fight 2 days before between members of 300 and Newski Gang. During that fight, someone from 300 allegedly snatched the rival's phone. It seemed like a petty move, but prosecutors say that phone became bait. Using the stolen phone, they crafted Instagram messages designed to look like they came from one of his fellow gang members. The bait was simple: step outside. The trap was perfect. He would believe he was meeting an ally in his building vestibule. Sometime after 10 p.m., the messages reached their target. Inside his residence on Bergen Avenue, 16-year-old Kaheem Taylor checked his phone. Known as Kaduk in the streets, he was still just a teenager living in the middle of one of Jersey City's deadliest gang wars. He saw the message. He trusted the name, and so he went downstairs and opened the door. At 10:30 p.m., Kaheem Taylor stepped outside. Waiting for him, prosecutors say, was Khalil Kelly and Andre Alomar. Guns drawn. No words. Just the roar of gunfire. Bullets tore into his chest and upper body. The teen collapsed bleeding out in the entryway of his own home. The shooters bolted. Roger Pickett was nearby in a getaway car waiting. He allegedly picked up Kelly, Alomar, and another associate. Together, they disappeared into the night, leaving nothing but shell casings and a bleeding teenager behind. The killers abandoned their vehicle in Newark and then drove to the Marion Gardens complex. Responding officers arrived at 83 Bergen Avenue within minutes. They found Kaheem Taylor lying on the ground, unresponsive. He was rushed to Jersey City Medical Center, but the damage was done. At 11:15 p.m., doctors pronounced Kaheem Taylor dead. Kaheem Taylor wasn't just another statistic. He was the latest casualty in a feud stretching back almost a decade. Newski Gang and 300 had already exchanged leaders, friends, and brothers in a war that showed no signs of ending. To them, Kaheem Taylor's killing wasn't just murder. It was revenge repaid in blood. About 8 months later, in November of 2021, prosecutors say another murder took place. Another planned ambush of a rival gang member, Rashawn Bell, street name BG. He was convicted of a 2017 double fatal crash and had been out of jail on an appeal for a year. The indictment names Myron Williams, described by investigators as a leading figure in the group, and Roger Pickett, who allegedly acted as his driver and accomplice. Authorities say the two planned an ambush, intending to lure Bell out of his home. November 20th, 2021, Rashawn Bell stepped outside not knowing he was walking into a trap. Almost immediately, prosecutors say, Myron Williams and another gunman opened fire, striking Bell several times before fleeing the scene. He dropped where he stood, blood pooling fast, the life fading out of him with every breath. Neighbors called for help, and Bell was rushed to a nearby hospital, but medical staff were unable to save him. He was pronounced dead a short time later. Investigators say Pickett was waiting nearby in the getaway car. After the shooting, the group drove off and later set that same vehicle on fire, attempting to destroy any evidence that could link them to the murder. A short time later, an associate identified only as TB allegedly picked the men up and drove them back to Marion Gardens. Later that night, police responding to reports of a fire discovered the burned vehicle, confirming that it had been intentionally torched. To the public, it looked like another Jersey City shooting, a quick burst of violence with no clear answers. But investigators recognized familiar details, the same names, the same network, and the same deliberate cleanup afterward. To law enforcement, this wasn't random street violence. It was a coordinated act, part of a larger criminal pattern tied to the 300, a gang accused of using murder, intimidation, and fear to maintain its influence. Rashawn Bell's killing would later become a central event in the federal indictment, one of 3 murders that prosecutors say defined the rise and reach of the 300. Almost a year after the previous homicide, the cycle of violence in Jersey City continued. On November 1st, 2022, prosecutors say members of the 300 orchestrated yet another deadly plot, a robbery disguised as a drug deal. It began with a meeting arranged between 300 members and 2 men from Paterson, New Jersey. The visitors believed they were traveling to Jersey City for a routine drug transaction. They had no idea they were walking into an ambush. When they arrived at Marion Gardens, one of the men, later identified in court as Joe Von Horn of Tenafly, was escorted through the courtyard by Jawad Davis. Davis led Horn into a vestibule, a narrow entryway just inside one of the residential buildings. Waiting inside, prosecutors allege, were Roger Pickett and Kaheem Wilson, both known 300 members. The moment Horn and his associates stepped into the vestibule, the guns came out. Davis grabbed the duffel bag of narcotics Horn had brought for the supposed deal. Wilson and Pickett ordered the victims to empty their pockets, warning that any resistance would mean death. Then chaos broke out. Horn made a desperate run for the door. Pickett opened fire. The bullets struck Horn as he tried to flee, collapsing him just outside the building. At 9:05 p.m., Jersey City police responded to reports of gunfire on Dales Avenue. Officers found Horn lying near 74 Dales Avenue, suffering from a gunshot wound to the abdomen. He was rushed to the hospital but pronounced dead shortly after. Investigators later tied the getaway car, Pickett's vehicle, to earlier homicides linked to 300. Prosecutors say the shooting that night wasn't random. It was a robbery plan that turned into murder, a defining moment in the federal racketeering case that would soon follow. What began as a fake deal in a housing project courtyard ended in the death of another young man and deepened the case that would eventually bring 300 to its knees. In January 2024, a superseding federal indictment was filed in Newark, New Jersey. It named 12 defendants, including Myron Williams, Roger Pickett, Khalil Kelly, Kaheem Wilson, and others. They were charged under federal racketeering laws, the same kind often used to take down mafia families. The indictment accused them of forming an organized criminal enterprise responsible for murder, robbery, and large-scale drug trafficking, a network that prosecutors say thrived through violence and intimidation. Each of the 3 murders, Kaheem Taylor, Rashawn Bell, and Joe Von Horn, was listed as part of that alleged racketeering conspiracy. Social media acted as both amplifier and evidence. Posts that once looked like ordinary flexing now appear in court as digital confessions of loyalty, dominance, and grief. 12 men stood accused of running a criminal network from a public housing complex in Jersey City. Prosecutors say it was a world built on drugs, reputation, and retaliation. One where every like, every post, and every feud could turn fatal. After years of bloodshed, robberies, and retaliation, members of 300 faced judgment before the U.S. District Judge Michael E. Farbiars. Kaheem Wilson was sentenced to 195 months, more than 16 years in prison, for racketeering conspiracy, Hobbs Act robbery, and aiding the discharge of a firearm during a violent crime. Wilson had been there the night Joe Von Horn was shot and killed in the failed robbery, a pivotal event that helped federal agents connect the gang's murders, robberies, and narcotics operations into one sweeping RICO case. Jawad Davis was sentenced to 170 months, over 14 years, for his role in orchestrating the robbery that ended in Horn's murder. Khalil Kelly was sentenced to life in prison, plus another 10 years, for his part in the racketeering conspiracy. Myron Williams, the gang's reputed shot caller, was sentenced to 2 life terms, plus an additional 30 years for drug trafficking and gun charges. Prosecutors described Williams as the gang's mastermind, a man who ordered murders, controlled drug flow, and ruled the projects through intimidation. Roger Pickett received the harshest fate of all, for consecutive life sentences for racketeering conspiracy and 3 separate murders in aid of racketeering. Prosecutors said each life term represented a life taken. 3 murders tied to the gang's violent campaign to dominate its Jersey City territory. Pickett was also handed an additional 50 years for robbery and discharging firearms during violent crimes. And there you have it, a look into the notorious Jersey City Gang, 300. If you like this video, please hit the like button and hit that subscribe button. Down in the comments, give me your thoughts on this story. It's the Crime Street Journal.